we'll kick off here. So I want to welcome you and say thank you very much for giving us some of your time today. We really appreciate you guys turning up. Just to introduce myself, I'm Blair. A lot of you will already know me. I'm the senior account executive here at Newbook. Look, from those of you who have done demos and things with me before, you know I'm pretty keen on all parts of revenue management, and it's sort of a passion of mine, and being able to assist properties in being able to, I suppose, maximize their potential and talk about how technology can help really heavily in that area. So just a couple of little bits of housekeeping first. If you do have any questions or queries, obviously we're all on it, please feel free just to pop them in the chat. If it's appropriate for us to touch on them as we're going through, we will. Alternatively, we'll cover them across at the end. If we're pushed for time, we will get in touch with you all via email to answer your questions off there. Because of the fairly wide scope of people we've got today, we will mix some terminology. So we're going to sometimes say site, sometimes we're going to say cabin, sometimes we'll say room, apartment, house, boat slip, car park. It doesn't. For all intents and purposes, they're very, very similar. So and interchangeable for this today. The other thing is revenue management systems that we'll be talking about today, sometimes shortened as RMS, which may be a slightly dirty word around Newbook. So forgive us if we throw that one in on the odd occasion. RMS standing for Revenue Management System today. And just finally, all the content from this, the slides, the info, the links, everything will be made available to you after this meeting. We'll send an email out with everything included, so you don't have to worry about taking too many notes. So I suppose the purpose of today, we just want to help sort of increase your understanding on, revenue management strategies and where revenue management systems can assist in maximizing those returns for you, and really how Newbook works with ideas to achieve that. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to Jeff to sort of introduce himself, sort of really talking broad strokes about revenue management systems and a little bit more about who ideas actually are.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Blair. I appreciate that. Yeah, my name is Jeff. I'm a director of sales for Ideas here in the Americas. I've been with Ideas now for 12 years, all of those 12 years in various sales capacity. And I've absolutely had the honor of helping a broad variety of clients address revenue management challenges and deliver some successes, result-wise with the use of Ideas revenue management systems. And I've had an incredible ride in my 12 years, and I've had a lot of fun. I've met a lot of amazing people along my Ideas journey, and who knows? I hope at some point maybe our paths might cross in the future as well. I think that to kick things off, I think there is a little bit of a diverse group here. So I'll kind of keep it simple. Like, what is a revenue management system? I think some people may have more knowledge about that than others, but kind of simply stated, I look at a revenue management system it's a tool, right? It's a tool that organizes and analyzes your demand data, and it's doing that constantly. And then from that, it's going to create forecast. And these forecasts are created a variety of ways. They're 12 months out into the future. So you could get forecast room type, site type, you could get it market segment. So a variety of different ways you can get that forecast 12 months out. And then it's going to deliver pricing decisions, right? So we are a decision system. It will deliver those pricing decisions. It will do that with our Newbook integration multiple times a day. And so kind of if you think about it at just a very high level, it's analyzing your demand data, producing forecasts, and then helping with pricing decisions. For those of you on the call, again, some may be familiar with Ideas, others may not. Ideas is the global leader in revenue management. We've been around for 35 years, delivering these innovative analytic solutions that unleash pricing power for our clients to help them improve and be successful with just total revenue performance. And that $3.5 decades, we've grown to over 30,000 global clients. We have almost just under 250 rock solid integrations like we have with Newbook, and we have 99% client retention rate. So I'm a simple sales guy, like 99% of every year clients have a chance to fire us, and 99% of them renew. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about kind of an overview of what high level revenue management system is, and who Ideas is. So I'll turn it back to you.
Okay. So just to frame up the conversation a little bit today, we just wanted to just share a couple of little insights and just trends we're seeing across the accommodation industry. So we're looking this year, the Australian accommodation industry is going to generate $1.6 billion in revenue. And we're basically predicting that will only increase next year. Now, traditionally, with some other markets that we're in, we'd seen a lot of those bookings generated by the millennials and things like that, because of the higher level of tech adoption. That in Australia, we actually see that a baseline for all generations is really around that online piece, that savvy shopper, and that's their standard go-to. So whether that's via an OTA, or whether that is more directly through your portal, is they're really looking for that fast response and quick response. And we're seeing that now across all. Obviously, with the event of COVID, it sort of educated people to be a little bit more online. So we're even seeing that with the boomer generation, that they're adopting that a lot faster. So in certain cases, and it's just, you've got Ideas and other revenue management systems, it's about getting your share of that pie, and increasing your section of that $1.6 billion. But also, the market has moved the way they book and will continue to move, and it's sort of accelerated. And if you're not moving to capture that customer, you're going to be left behind, and you're not going to get your fair share. So we just wanted to, I suppose, frame that up a little bit. And just, Jeff, I suppose if you just want to share a couple of the insights that you're seeing from your guys' sort of analytical side on the industry.
Absolutely, happy to do so. What we're seeing, and again, this is going to vary across various markets, obviously, but there were these crazy rates that people were recognizing and achieving, and during COVID, and we're seeing those rates are plateauing, right? Certainly, not in all markets. I mean, rates are still very strong, but they are softening somewhat, right? And so what we're seeing is, driving rate is becoming a little more challenging, in that regard. But we're also seeing where booking windows are getting shorter, and in some markets, again, it varies, but in some markets, significantly shorter, right? So we're adjusting in that regard as well. And I'll touch base on that stat there in just a moment. But I think about in terms of the value that Ideas brings our clients, right? And so when I think about the value that we bring to revenue leaders, it's that you're kind of easy, like we make them bigger, better, faster, stronger. Kind of how we do that. And I kind of see the value prop in kind of two buckets, right? That soft dollar, as well as the hard dollar. And soft dollar being around time savings and efficiencies. Everybody nowadays is doing more with less, and we're delivering those time savings and inefficiencies. We're achieving that largely through automation. And so with Ideas, we're removing many of those manual, time-consuming tasks that revenue folks are generally involved with on a daily basis, and replacing that by automating things like automating your forecasting, automating your reporting, right? So you can get those automated reports scheduled, sent to you and your inbox, but yet you also have the opportunity to log into Ideas and pull some ad hoc reports, right? Things that you might want to customize on your own. We're going to automate the pricing for you. Again, with that goal being to either free up your time or free up time for individuals on your team if you have a revenue management team. So that's kind of that hard dollar, soft dollar bucket. But if I look at the hard dollar bucket, that's really around my ROI. So, which is the statistic we have up there now. So you make the investment in ideas technology in our revenue management system. What's an expected ROI that I can achieve? And I've been with ideas for a long time, and I've absolutely seen 12% and 15%. I've seen those double digits. I never would say on any webinar or any meeting or in any demo that we would guarantee that everybody gets that. But if I were to kind of put the hand over my heart and give a reasonable expectation of what you could expect to properly install ideas, absolutely within that 4 to 6, 4 to 7% range is something I think we could kind of hang our hat on, in that capacity. If I thought about maybe one more insight or trend that we do see is that there are a lot of folks out there now that are just kind of struggling with data. I mean, there's so much data out there that's available to everybody, just enormous data. And what do you do with it? How do you manage it? And kind of importantly too is how do you separate out the noise, right? And so Ideas helps do that with our revenue management system. We kind of organize that data in a way that allows you to make those data-driven, fact-based decisions on something that you know is going to happen, right? Versus kind of a gut instinct of what somebody thinks or how somebody feels. Or I often tell people that they can use the data to validate those intuitions, right? And so at the end of the day, we wanted you to make more informed, smarter decisions that impact your revenues.
Thanks for that, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Just moving through, we just want to touch briefly, I suppose, on given the audience we've got today, we sort of look at a two kind of different properties. So whether you're at one end of the scale where perhaps you've run your property and it's you haven't really gone past no dynamic pricing, you've got high peak season and low season, and that's about it, and you're looking to, I suppose, put a more in-depth revenue strategy in place and increase that way. Or ultimately maybe multiple properties or a little bit more of a professional organization where you might have some revenue management people, you might actually have a revenue management strategy in place, but you're really looking at taking that to the next level. We'll find a revenue management system will assist in both of those things, but obviously, there's part of a selection process and how you want to wind this out and what you can do. So we're just going to throw a couple of questions at Jeff and run through that. So I suppose, Jeff, first thing, when looking at selecting a revenue management system, what would be 3 questions that you think that everyone should ask of a revenue management provider?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would submit that if I were looking at a revenue management system today, and what I would ask is, does that revenue management system make me more operationally efficient, right? And so I think that's key. I touched the base on that just a moment ago. I would also look at, does that revenue management system make me more revenue, right? Like that's kind of the goal there, right? And then, but also I would be looking at that revenue management system through the lens of, is it going to show me more insights into my business that I currently don't have today, right? So will that revenue management technology give me some visibility and insights into my business that I don't currently have? I also would probably, if I were to look at a bonus answer on that one, I would absolutely look at, is this revenue management system integrated with Newbook, right? Because if you're looking at a revenue management system that doesn't integrate with your PMS, like you're just making a mistake and wasting time and money on that one. But yeah, that's what I'd look at.
Awesome. And I suppose the most common question we get around revenue management is around dynamic pricing and people looking at how deep they go into it. So we tend to use the code that we encourage people to dip their toe in that and just try it on and things like that. But there sometimes can be a fair bit of hesitation. I know there can be some concern about those historical long-term guests and things. So for someone looking just to get in and looking to try it in, what advice would you have for someone for just looking to, if they're a little bit gun shy?
Yeah, great. I had to jot down dip the toe because I like that phrase. I think first, without dynamic pricing, you truly can't sell that right product to the right person at the right price. I mean, that is fundamental revenue management 101. So you need dynamic pricing to achieve that. I do, I will submit and kind of recognize that I think there's there's a broad audience here, right? But I think pricing and introducing technology and pricing changes via technology is an emotional decision for a lot of people. Ideas does recognize that that level of emotion, especially in the campground and holiday parks. I think that that's elevated level. So Ideas doesn't downplay that. We do respect that and acknowledge that. You kind of touched on it earlier with the different generations. I would say that it's accepted by everyone, right? My parents, right? So whether if they're in the boomers, they accept it. Gen Xers, you touched on, millennials. I think they absolutely anticipate that. It's very commonplace, right? So if I was traveling earlier this week, and so airline seats, movie tickets, parking spaces, hotel rooms, right? It's just campsites. It's just a national flow for that as well. And I would just encourage you that dip your toe in it, because if you don't, I don't want you to be left behind, because if you're not doing it for your property, I would be willing to bet that at some point in time, if not already, your competitors are, right? So we don't want you to be left behind. But I would encourage you again, just kind of to think about, if I was really you don't need to jump into the deep end, right? You don't have to start out with those 10, 15, $20 increments, those higher rate changes. You could be more subtle. Just take a more subtle approach. You could do $3, $5, $7, however that would be. I would submit to you that those probably aren't even going to be noticed, and that whatever you're able to do is money that goes straight to the bottom line. So that's just straight bottom line impact there. But don't just set it and forget it. We would want to monitor it and measure it and make the adjustments, right? And that's, again, if you look at revenue management technology like Ideas, that's where Ideas would help in terms of automating those dynamic pricing. And we would be doing that with the Newbook integration multiple times per day, right? To kind of help get rid of some of that stuff that your manager's trying to do now and push rates out and all that stuff in a manual environment.
Segue in, just as you mentioned that, the question from Sandy in the chat. Yeah, it is changing those rates multiple times a day, based on information coming through from the system and the system coming through from Ideas. So with the two-way integration, yes, that is happening regularly.
Correct.
What is the average dynamic price? That's how long is a piece of string in this audience. We've got a very, very wide and varied selection there, but look, probably that's something we could probably cover a little bit more specific for you post this meeting. I think next question, just one real trend we're seeing, obviously, with the rise of digital nomads, people being able to work away from home, people who make their living off Instagram. People have been increasing their revenue significantly by increasing length of stay. So rather than everyone just turning up on Friday and then leaving on Sunday, extending that length of stay has been a really fantastic way for people to increase their revenue and entice people to stay a little bit longer. What are some strategies you've seen that have been, Jeff, that have been successful in creating that longer length of stay and offers around that?
Right. There are some tried and true strategies in place. Again, if you don't have a revenue management system, kind of revenue management, kind of one-on-one, like you'll implement those stay restrictions on those higher peak demand periods. Then you would offer promotions on the flip side, right? So when you have those softer periods where you're trying to entice guests and influence demand, right? So with those targeted discounts, we want you to kind of have those with the thought in mind of extending that length of stay there as well. And I think, again, that's where a revenue management system does help, because it would also help with any of those offers that you have. We can do dynamic discounting, right? So you don't always need to have that fixed rate, that fixed discount, where it's a flat 15% or 10% off whatever discount that you are offering. So within the system that it would look at, and it would dynamically flex that based on the demand, based on everything that's going on in your marketplace, everything going on in your reservations. So instead of 15%, the system might say that it would be 7% on this day or 5% for the next day. Some days the system would say you don't need to flex and offer any discount on that at all. Other days you do the 15%. But it's that stuff that the system could do for you that just even the most advanced analytical minds, put a bunch of people in the room. It's just hard to keep up with all that, and then again, with the goal being extending length of stay there.
And finally, there's always a little bit of a debate about this in revenue management circles, where being 100%, is it a good thing? Have you sold rooms too cheap? Have you done this? Have you done that? So
right.
It's always a little bit of thing, and it has been said that being 100% is actually a negative outcome. Any thoughts on and feelings on when is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How does that sort of fit in?
Yeah, I think you said it earlier. I think it depends. I think there are times when it absolutely is a good thing, and then there are other times when you could second guess yourself. I think oftentimes where we see 100% sellout and it not be positive is that you sell out too quickly, right? And so we want you to try and avoid selling out too soon, because in essence, when you do that, you're almost always leaving money on the table, right? And so if you look at what a revenue management system would deliver, it's the power of that forecast. It's going to tell you where that business is coming from, when, how much, when you can expect it, right? So it will help you kind of pump the brakes on that a little bit and kind of understand that demand, when it will come. And so you don't sell out all that lower rated discount business, which has a tendency to book sooner, right? And so you want to be able to save some of that reservation for the higher rated premium business that will typically always comes a little bit later. And I think really, like an example you mentioned earlier, like selling on weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? So is that always the best decision if you're going to sell out every weekend and you might have guests that are looking to come and book and stay with you for a week, right? And you can't accommodate that book of business because you're sold out on the weekends. And so did you lose the opportunity there to take that longer length of stay business? And so I think we just kind of look at it from that lens, and that's really where ideas will help you optimize, right? And so that's what technology does. Is if you took all of your reservation demand data that you had and you threw them all out on the desk, and you wanted to go through and just put together a revenue management puzzle. And with that revenue management puzzle, you're going to have the most optimal business of revenue. And I'm going to take this advanced purchase. I'm going to take this one night. I'm going to take this 3-night, this weekend business. That's fine. You put it all together and you maximize revenue. And that's what the system's going to help you do, right? And then it would, another way to kind of look at it too, in terms of selling out, where you kind of make operationally a decision, is if you had, say, 60 sites and you could sell all 60 sites at $40 a night, or do you want to sell 40 of those at $60, right? Because the same outcome's $2,400, right? But operationally, what's my impact? Or perhaps maybe you might have a revenue management system that might say, hey, let's look at doing 50 at 50, right? So then I'm going to get $2,500 and still look at that, right? And so that's just what the technology will do, is it will help you kind of optimize that business mix and kind of look at managing the sellouts, if that makes sense, hopefully.
And I suppose just to segue into the next bit about how the connection works, and just a question from Sandy in the chat, where does Ideas draw demand information from in regards to that? So there's a couple of things that say. Obviously, the integrated system allows it to look at your booking history, booking pickup, booking trends from within Newbook, but it does also look externally to you, market demand, competitor sets, and things along those lines, and blends all that together in the algorithm, or for lack of a better word. So it's not just internal; it is also external from there as well. But if we just click through, Specifically, we want to talk about the connection. So obviously, yes, the Newbook connection, and that's real-time two-way connection between Newbook and ideas. You can turn it down to one way if you're looking at just, again, dipping the toe in where it's just going to make recommendations. But to take full advantage of the system, you can actually then automatically have those recommendations from the system flow back into rate from the system. And it's going to do that multiple times a day. So I suppose, Jeff, just to copy across, we do also have a QR code there. If you've got your phone, you can take it and it'll take you through a little bit more information about connecting off to ideas. But I suppose how to get connected, how to take us through the process. If people
Sure.
are interested in getting a little bit more information, because obviously this is very generalized that we're covering across today.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll make it simple, right? Like we like to keep it simple. Just contact me, right? So you can contact me with that QR code. I most likely won't be your sales contact, but I will absolutely commit to you that I will get you in touch with a colleague of mine, and he or she will take great care of you. Please don't. Ideas isn't a pushy organization, right? We're not going to come at you with pitches. It's not our style. It's not the ideas way. I would submit would have an initial conversation, and at the end of that conversation, we kind of agree to move forward, or kind of keep moving along, or we agree to keep in touch, right? And that's okay too. I think at a minimum, we both make industry connections, and that's a good thing, and that's a win for all of us.
I suppose just to, as we're sort of drawing to a close relatively quickly, just want to, I suppose, just cover across a few of the key takeaways. One, that dynamic pricing, revenue management is here to stay. It's actually prevalent in almost all industries, and it's only going to increase. If you don't take advantage of it, someone else will, and they'll take that, I suppose, that extra slice of your pie. And that's just the way people shop at the moment, and the changing customer landscape. If we don't move with it, we'll be left behind. Just how businesses maybe 25 years ago, will I get online or will I not? It's just the next evolution of that. So that's really part. The second is it will save you time, not just obviously in, are you spending less time on a spreadsheet if you've got an existing revenue management strategy and crunching those numbers and doing those sorts of things, huge savings there and employee savings, but also by having that integrated system. So by integrating your revenue management system and your property management system, if it's not integrated, you are still going to be copying data, and someone's going to have to translate and make sense of that. So that really takes that's time, effort, dollar saving on staff to the next level. And the final one, I think probably being relatively important, a lot of time we try things on and we see how they go. It's not one of those things when you're looking at a revenue management system integrated that you hope to get an increase in revenue. You should actually expect that. As Jeff said, ideas have a 99% customer retention rate. People don't continue paying their subscriptions year on year if they're not seeing that year on year improvement. So don't just think, oh, well, I hope this works. It actually should be an expectation that it will work and it will increase and drive your business and increase that bottom line. So I suppose it's just a couple of the key points I sort of wanted to leave you with today. In the couple of seconds we have left, just wanted to touch base on, if you do have any questions, please pop them in the chat. If you perhaps don't want to ask them publicly, that's fine. As I said, we're going to send this information to you out afterwards. You can always contact us directly with any questions or queries you might have. But just to, I suppose, round out, Jeff, any final thoughts, feelings, anything just before we all say farewell, if there's no other questions that are going to pop through?
No, again, my sincere thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend with us. And if ideas can be of service, if you ever want to explore a business fit or a relationship with us, we'd welcome an opportunity to have a conversation with you, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, really appreciate all your time today, guys. As I said, that information will come out off the back of this. Any queries, questions, whether it's how the integration works or what the actual product does, please send them through. But yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, everyone.